Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 5th round of the season here with Invictus Racing League. It's the Tier 1 drivers tonight around the Sao Paulo race circuit of Interlagos. I'm back for the first time this season. It's me, Jack TM53, commentating where I should be on Tier 1. Thank you so much to Jordan, who has been covering in my absence for these opening 4 races. It is much appreciated from him, and tonight he's going to be treating us to some action because Jordan is racing under the Bosnian and Herzegovina flag for the RB team alongside ARL this evening. We have got qualifying just about to start, and we have got this really fantastic circuit. 15 corners, 4.309 kilometres, and it's been around for, well, it was built in 1938, so if anyone could do any quick mathematics, you'll know there's been 87 years since Interlagos first came into participation for the drivers. Session looks dry by the seams of it. We've got a little bit of cloud in the sky, but nothing too major to worry about. I am alone commentating this evening. Mikey is otherwise engaged, sadly, on some personal errands, so he's not going to be about today or racing tomorrow in Tier 2 for that matter. But there's going to be a lot to cover in this opening 18 minutes of qualifying that the drivers will have to navigate around this brilliant circuit. It's been on the calendar for quite a long time. Obviously, back in the day, Interlagos had a period of time where Carlos Pache was winning around in the Brabham back in those days in the 70s, and then a little bit of a spell off the calendar, and it was kind of rotated around with other circuits, but now it is permanently on the calendar. It has been for over 30 years realistically. But we have got qualifying underway, 17 minutes and 40 seconds, so this session just 20 seconds old. We'll bring up all of the telemetry available so we can see it. For qualifying, we'll turn the telemetry off. For the race, in terms of the harvesting situation, we don't want to give any competitors an opportunity to get some inside info. We've got a car going out on circuit. Looks like one of the Ferraris emerging from the pit lane. I'm going to say that's Owen who's going out in the Ferrari. The Scuderia, I always expect, of course, the Ferraris, and there is the Ferrari driver cutting across the white line on the exit there. But there we go, a couple of drivers out on circuit at the moment. We've got the Aston Martin and the Kick Sauber of Nathan and Kent. Kent, the only Sauber here this evening. Ivan, his teammate, unavailable, unfortunately, for today. But whilst we are waiting for the drivers to circulate, I will do a lap of the track as well. But before we go into that, hello to ARL who's out there tonight. Good evening to Matty Rudd, who's commented as well, and to everyone who is watching live here. But in terms of the championship standings, let's run through those because it is quite tight at the moment after last week's racing. So Sydney had a bit of a mare last week in the Haas. He's just coming out of the pits now, our championship leader. He didn't have the best of times at Monaco. He ended up finishing in 8th position. So he got, after the penalties and race stewards incidents were confirmed, he ended up getting 4 points in the end. So he's on 56 points. Jel Geeson, who has been pretty much on it this season. He's had a bit of bad luck and a bit of misfortune. He was unlucky last week at Monaco as well with his time penalty. He finished second provisionally in the end, and he is on 41 points in the drivers' standings. Bjorn de Boer is third on 37. Merckx, who isn't here this evening, he's on 33 points in fourth position. Milo de Boer, last week's race winner in the Alpine, not here tonight. He's on 28 points. Sunboy is 6th on 23, with Owen 7th on 22. Paul Racetech in the Red Bull is on 20 points in 8th, tied with ARL for the same amount of points. And Stinos rounds out the top 10 in 19 points. The constructors' fight is where it's especially tight at the moment, as Owen sets the first lap of the qualifying session at 1 minute 8.4. But at the moment, it's the Alpines who are leading the team's championship in the constructors. The Boer brothers, I should say, only Bjorn on track tonight. They're on 65 points. They lead by 1 point from Yelagisen and Sunboy. Haas a third on 56. Sydney and Typhon. Typhon not here this evening. He's suffering with illness and heat exhaustion by the sounds of his work. Williams a fourth on 48 with Merckx and Shortbread, and then it's the Red Bull team of Paul Racetech and Stinos on 39. So I'd even argue that Racing Bulls are right with them as well on 38, just 1 point back from not the sister team, but the parent team, I should say, for the Racing Bulls. They're on 38. So 27 points separate first Alpine and the Racing Bulls in 6th. So it's quite tight. That could all change this evening. We've got a few more lap times on the board from Owen and Kent as Bjorn de Boer kicks the Alpine's rear out at Junkao, the final real braking zone on this circuit. The number 95 comes towards the line, and that puts him on the front row. It's Shortbread at the moment who is provisionally the fastest on a 1 minute 8 flat. Nitro just outside the 1 minute 8 at the moment. Got a yellow flag for one of the slower Red Bulls just moving around the circuit. Sydney, our championship leader, he's done a 17.3 in the first sector. Ginger Tiger just coming into sector 2. You got Ruddo out there as well in the other Ferrari. Sunboy 2, you got JPH. JPH, Jordan was saying to me beforehand, he's not expecting anything this evening. He'd be surprised if he didn't qualify in last place. Bruce was also saying that the Harding family could occupy the back row. So we'll see whether JPH and Bruce are able to manage that themselves. Stinos back in the pit, so not able to set a lap. We've got one of the Red Bulls. I'm going to assume that's Paul Racetech coming towards Stoffel. It wasn't. It was actually going on to a flying lap. So let's see if we can find Sydney. There we go. Just as I was about to say it, Sydney goes across the line with a 1 minute 8.001. So that is a mighty lap time from the championship leader. 400ths of a second clear of the Williams of Shortbread, who we know this season has been especially quick. Ginger Tiger up in 6th place. Ruddo slots himself into 7th. Here comes Sunboy in the Mercedes all the way to the line, and that's a spot on row 3. The Aston Martin of IRC Bruce slots onto row number 6 on 1 minute 9.629 from the Aston Martin reserve driver this evening. And Paul Racetech, what a stonking lap that is from the Red Bull driver. That's a 1 minute 7.895. And Paul Racetech, from what I've been watching this season, has been threatening a performance like this in qualifying. He has been mightily rapid at times, but that is a nice lap to go into the next part of the session. Again, we've got another yellow flag. There's a bunch of grouped cars. Looks like they're roughly around turns 8 and 9 by Pinarino. So I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue, I don't think. But Paul Racetech, great effort from him. That's a really, really strong qualifying lap. You know, he's had a couple of top 7 qualifying times, has Paul Racetech, and the odd top 10 here and there and everywhere. But his speed has been not bad at all in the slightest. So considering he started as a reserve initially for the season, he has put himself right where he needs to be. ARL out there as well. A number of drivers have now returned to the pits, and I think ARL backed out of a lap there. So let's go on board with him. Let's hope he's going to go on to a full lap here at Interlagos. His battery is increasing, so I don't think that will be the case. Oh, it is going to be the case. So we have got a flying lap with ARL then. Towards the first corner he goes, then into the centre S, is braking just after the 50-metre marker, down through the gears, second gear for the Racing Bull. Very twitchy on the exit of the corner as he goes around the left-hander at turn 3. Battery deployed straight away for the Racing Bull man. He's going to approach turn 4 at Interlagos. He's going to brake just after the 100-metre marker, and that's fourth gear. Whoa, big snap, and I think that might have just invalidated his lap. He's still going on though as he approaches Ferradura at turn 6. Big commitment through the corner, over the curb, and then run over to the left-hand side. Down to second again for the Racing Bull driver. He's going to come through the left-hander at Pinarino, the Ferrari of, I'm going to say that's Owen, getting out of the way nicely. Then into turn number 10 at Bico de Pato. And again, car just snapping a little bit at cases in this Racing Bull. It's certainly fired up on the differential. He's not improving on his lap, and that curb strike has just sent him a little bit sideways. ARL isn't going to improve on this lap, but that was a full lap of Interlagos. A breathless one, I should say. And into the pits comes the number 8 driver. Got another car coming towards the start-finish line. I'm just looking to see if that's Shortbread going onto a lap. It is. Sydney also going onto a flying lap. Let's follow Shortbread, the man who's been looking for a race victory in this championship. Certainly more than capable of doing so. I've been noticing that Shortbread's been having a really good time since he joined IRL. He's someone that I'm quite familiar with from previous leagues. It's really nice to have him on board. But his championship so far has just been a little bit unlucky at times on occasion. He missed the opening 2 races, didn't score points there. But since then he's shown flashes of speed. He was very fast in Imola when he got it on pole position in that intermediate race. He's a 10th and a half up on this lap, which would get him into between the 2 Red Bulls, who are having a fabulous session so far with 8 minutes to go. DRS wide open for the Williams driver as he comes towards the start-finish line. And that's provisional pole again. Shortbread's there, but then Sydney says, "Thank you very much, kind sir. I'm going to take that back." And a 1 minute 7.5. That is a fearsome pace set by the Haas, the number 2, blazoned across the side of his car, but he's number 1 in the driver's standing. Sydney with a great effort, almost 3 tenths clear of Shortbread. Rest of the field, though, only separated by 1 second. So I say the rest of the field, 2nd through to 13th. We don't expect, and I mean this in the nicest way possible, this isn't us taking the mick out of the IRC boys of Bruce and JPH. JPH has only just about managed to set up his wheel settings in the last 15 minutes. So Jordan was saying he'd be surprised if he was anywhere near the pace. And Bruce, predominantly a tier 2 driver, but unable to race tomorrow, is competing tonight as Nitrogash moves out of the way of the drivers. But that's a very hotly contested grid. And one thing that I'm remembering from our evaluation races that we did earlier on before we started season 21 is that this is one of those days where someone out there could decide to take on a one-stop strategy. Convention would say 2 stops around here would be the right way to go if it's a dry race. However, we did see one of the Bjorn brothers, I think it was Bjorn, in that race that we did for the evaluations earlier on. That feels like such a long time ago now. He did a one-stop strategy and won the race as a result. So expect the Alpine in the pits at the moment to try and do something a little bit different as Ruddock goes onto what I'm going to assume will be a pit stop for him. Nitrogash running the chrome livery on the McLaren. It's a nice update that the game has brought in. And it looks like the orange, I know some people have been complaining about online about the orange of the McLaren not looking quite right, but it looks good there. Kent's going on to, well, I was going to say going on to a flying lap, but he's actually just gone out of the way of a car that's just headed into the pit. So, not ideal. I think it was Paul Racetech who he was moving out of the way of. Stinos is on a lap. One of the Racing Bulls is coming towards the start-finish line. I'm going to assume that's JPH. Looks like he's improving on this lap, and it is an improvement. 1 minute 9.855 from him. Can Stinos respond? No battery at the end of the lap. Does go 800ths quicker, but I think Stinos is using a little bit too much battery early on. He's running out of battery as he comes across the line, and that can lose a good tenth or two there. So maybe he could get onto the first row of the grid if he just plans out his battery usage a touch more. I'm being very finicky, I'll admit that, to be honest. One of the other Racing Bulls, it's ARL. Let's have a look, see where he is on circuit. Coming into turn 4 to see the Interlagos. Good to see you, Mikey. Hope you're doing well. The IRL director. Thinking it's looking interesting at the moment. ARL, oh, just running a touch deep at turn 8 and has backed out of the lap completely by the sounds of it. Stenos is coming back into the pit lane. And we're looking further back at TCG Nathan, who has invalidated a lap and will have to try and recharge that battery. Kent has retired on circuit. But I'm just looking at the yellow flag zone at turn 3 at the centre S's. I think Kent has decided that's enough and his car pulls out of the way. I don't think he's crashed. I think he's just pulled over to the side of the circuit. So, TTG Nathan, DRS wide open. He's on the battery now. Let's watch his lap then as he comes towards turn number 1. Provided he's got enough fuel, he brakes just after the 50-metre marker board, down into third gear. Nice and tidy through turn 1. Ooh, the car squirming under the power, and he uses a bit too much curb, and that is the end of that lap. Nathan will have enough time, I think. It's going to be very tight if he can get round and go back out again. He's going to be very, very close as to whether he can. Wait and see on that one. Bjorn has commented in the driver's room to say that we are expecting rain in qualifying in the next few minutes. I don't think it's going to come in time, judging by the clouds above us. But you never know for the race. It might all change. We might have a wet race. It's likely to happen at Interlagos with the way that the climate is in Sao Paulo, because of course Brazil, you know, not too far away from the equator line, does have the opportunity to cause a few bits of chaos. So you can see how hard Nathan was pushing into the pits then. It's going to be tight on time. I think he'll get out again. It's got to be a quick turnaround though from the Aston Martin crew. Dan Fallows will be shouting at his team to get everything sorted. Sydney is on to a lap though. 2 minutes 25 to go in the session. Everyone else leaving it till a little bit later. That car sliding through turn 2. You worry about the tyre wear for the race if the Haas car is doing that already in qualifying. A touchdown on the opening sector for our championship leader. It's a hair's breadth though, realistically. Oh, Sydney with a huge slide, and that's the end of qualifying. But my goodness me, did he hold that? That was fantastic car control. And didn't I say preemptively, that car sliding through the centre S's doesn't bode well. And Sydney sliding the car through the corner there, just about gets away with it. Have a look at Ruddo. He looks as if he's pushing. Just looking at his qualified. Yes, he is improving on this lap. So this is a full-blown effort from the Ferrari driver. He's going to leave all of his battery to the final straight as he comes around turns 13, 14 and 15 approaching. DRS wide open. Ruddo taking the shortest amount of track possible to go up to the 4th row of the grid. It's 8th, a 1 minute 8.332 for him. ARL opens his effort. Sydney is going to go again. Paul Racetech is 4 thousandths of a second away from pole. Oh, he's matched the time. Can you believe it? We've not seen that in IRL before. It's an equal time, but Sydney set it first. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, 2.67 miles of race circuit, and these two, Sydney and Paul Racetech, have set the exact same time. Unbelievable. Absolutely fantastic. Shortbread goes on to his lap now. Stinos carrying on, another lap available for him. ARL's out there too on a flying lap. One of the Mercedes coming towards the start-finish line. He's going on to a lap 2. It's going to be Owen, I think, the next car to come along. So I'm looking to the Alpine of Bjorn de Boer, who's also coming along. We're trying to find the right driver who's coming across the start-finish line. Nathan's now gone through. So I think everybody is ready to go now for a proper flying effort. As Ruddo goes across the line, he's going to go on to another lap. It's a Racing Bull in the background. And I think that was ARL. Yeah, so ARL has just made it. So the first driver who's going to set a time is Sydney. Despite sliding off the road at Ferradura, will not improve. That is that for the championship leader. Ginger Tiger, it's going to be his teammate of Nitro who would have been next. That won't be occurring. What about Stinos? Oh, goes up to third. It's not quite enough. Paul Racetech can't improve. Would have been impressive. What about Shortbread? No, he doesn't either. The Aston Martin in the background of Bruce doesn't improve. What about Ginger? Doesn't improve enough. Sunboy will be the next driver to come along towards the start-finish line. It's a quicker time, but it's not a movement of improvement as Owen goes up to 7th. The Alpine of Bjorn de Boer goes into pole by 0.02 of a second. Wow, what an effort from the man who won the evaluation race before season 21 started. He has snatched pole by 0.02 of a second. That is unbelievable. Wow. I'm absolutely staggered. The top 3 are separated by 0.02 of a second. I thought Sydney and Paul Racetech getting the same time was impressive, but Bjorn de Boer has fired it onto pole position. Oh, what an absolutely brilliant qualifying session that was. Even still, the top 5 are separated by 0.2 of a second. Then you look at ARL, Sunboy, Ruddo, Owen, and Ginger Tiger separated by 0.2 of a second. Goodness me. Evening to JMB Surreal. Hope you're having a good time, buddy. And Cheeky Chaz in the comments, he's giving some support to Shortbread. Let's run through this incredible qualifying session here in Interlagos. It's Bjorn de Boer by 0.02 of a second with Paul Racetech and Sydney sharing the same time. Stenos rounds out a great qualifying session for Red Bull on the second row of the grid. Shortbread and ARL are on row 3 with Sunboy, Ruddo, Owen and Ginger Tiger rounding out the top 10. Kent and Nathan are on row 6 and 11th and 12th with Nitro just at the back on 13th and 14th with RC Bruce. JPH, a good qualifying effort from him considering the circumstances, will be on his own on row number 8. That was an fabulous qualifying session. We've got clear skies for the start of the race. We're yet to know, of course, whether or not we'll have rain through the actual race, whether it will come later on, we do not yet know. Shortbread saying hello to a good old Gavra friend of his of JMB in the YouTube comments there, which is quite sweet. But absolutely astounding. That is probably one of the most competitive qualifying sessions we've ever seen in IRL. To have the top 3 separated by 0.02 is an incredible achievement. Just shows you how much those guys are all pushing. 2.677 miles a circuit separated by 0.02. You couldn't make it up. Absolutely couldn't make it up. Well, we wait for everybody to get themselves ready. Obviously, I am the host of the lobby this evening, so I can't press go. Oh, I'm actually saying, I'm actually saying in the race chat, because I'm hosting, I actually can't see the ready up start button. So I'm giving someone the ability to press it at 28 minutes past. Shortbread asking, is there a set break? There's a little break, if you can call it that. I said we're going at 2028, so that's when we will be commencing. What is the strategy going to be for the drivers? Is there anyone out there who is going to try the one-stop strategy around Interlagos? There's quite a few things that I would typically recommend as a driver around here. Yes, you want to have a quick car, but you also have to remember there's 2 DRS zones around Interlagos, and having a car with a little bit more downforce will work against you around here. What we've seen in Imola was a prime example of this, is that you can have an especially quick car in a straight through the middle sector of the lap. But with the way that the DRS works around here, it's quite hard to overtake someone who's got a more lower downforce configuration. So Irara is one of those drivers in Tier 2 who ran a lower downforce setup in Tier 2, and people struggle to go overtake him just because they might have been quicker over the course of a lap, but they just couldn't get past them with DRS. So we are due to go. Just heard the countdown, and we will have the formation lap set things off, and there we go. The drivers getting themselves underway. Let's have a look at the tyre details. We'll get the telemetry disabled, but we'll have that open. So we've got a split grid here, which is fascinating to see. We have a mixture of the yellow-walled Pirelli medium compound tyres and the white-walled Pirelli hard compound tyres. Interesting that Sydney, Shortbread, ARL and Sunboy in the top 10, and Ginger Tiger for that matter, have all gone for hards. Everybody else, bar Nathan, who's in 12th place, they've gone for the mediums. Strategies on the board there, you can see 2 stops and even 3 stop is the recommended. I've definitely seen 1 stop around here, so let's not say that that's not going to happen. I'm looking at Sydney, Shortbread, ARL, Sunboy and Ginger, and even Nathan for that matter, looking at those guys and wondering whether or not they would be able to make those tyres last a little bit longer. For those of you that are watching, please do like the stream. It does mean a lot to us. And if you're new here for the first time, hello. Hope you're having a nice fun evening. If you could subscribe, because we've got more action coming up, of course. We've got the Tier 2 drivers, including yours truly, racing tomorrow. Nope, yours truly is not a relation to Yarno. But I will be racing tomorrow if you want to watch some carnage. Beyond the Ball, though, leading us around effectively turn 11 at Magullo and then into Junkao, the final braking zone of the lap. And there will be... Well, there's going to be a lot of action this evening. I reckon there's going to be a drivers now just pulling up to their grid slots. Beyond the Board's going to have to hold it on the brakes. Everyone just trying to get to their stop. Stenos just creeping forward, but didn't actually get it quite right. So Stenos is going to be starting a little bit further back. He's going to be vulnerable off the start. JPH lining his car up in a certain way where he can just about creep onto the gold line, which he does indeed. The 5 red lights then are going to come up for round 5 of the Season 21 Invictus Racing League Tier 1 Championship. And the race is live here in Interlagos. It looks like a really good start for the medium shod runners as Sydney goes backwards, but it's going to be Beyond the Ball who leads into turn 1. Paul Racetech moves up into second. Sydney drops down a spot. Shortbread's up 1. The Red Bull of Stenos has gone backwards, side by side between Sunboy and ARL on the exit of turn 3. Everyone so far behaving themselves, which is exactly what they need to do. Stenos on the inside of Shortbread. He's not going to find a way through. The Williams shuts the door. ARL just in front of Owen is fighting, and that's Stenos and Shortbread going side by side, and Stenos moves into 4th place. The medium shod runner getting in front as the Ferrari of Owen clambers all over the curb. Kent trying to go around the outside That would have been brave, ending up almost in Rio de Janeiro. He went that far wide, but he's still in 9th place. A good start. Bit of oversteer for ARL. They're going to be together then. The Sauber and it Racing Bull driver through the right-hander, and that's contact between the two, but Kent holds onto it. Ruddo brave around the outside, and the Ferrari moves up a spot. He's going to have to go off the road and onto the grass, and he's actually probably going to lose that spot to Kent and maybe even to TTG Nathan. He's right there in the Aston Martin on the inside as they approach turn 14, which they do now, and Ruddo does indeed drop a spot. Beyond the Ball leads the way. This is absolutely free wide as they go down the main straight. He's on the inside is Nathan, and he's going to take 2 places for 1 corner. The Aston Martin moves up to 8th. Kent in 9th. ARL goes from 8th to 10th. Fabulous work so far from these guys fighting over 8th place, and then Ruddo's deciding he wants to go past ARL as soon as he possibly can, and that Racing Bull is falling backwards. Oh, as Kent runs wide on the exit of turn number 4 at Descida del Lago. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, take a breath, because this has been frantic so far. But Nathan with a brilliant free wide moment down the main straight to take 8th position. But you can see how much time they've lost already by squabbling. The front group have gone. Someboy actually being distanced a little bit from the front 6. So Nathan, Kent, Ruddo, ARL, Ginger, Nitro, Bruce and JPH all in the second group. Someboy looks like he's on his own, but Beyond the Ball leads the way. He's going to have pressure from Paul Racetech here. DRS, of course, enabled on lap 2. And the Red Bull moving closer. Yeah, new fastest lap of the race from Shortbread, then Owen. So this group all closing up on one another. Somebody's on his own, and that's a lock-up. And I thought Kent was going to go through on Nathan there, but he's going to compromise himself in the Aston Martin. He did a little rear right tyre lock-up, it looked like. It was an important move, that, for Nathan. He wants to set his own pace. He doesn't want to be stuck fighting with the medium shod runners. He's on the hard tyre. He wants to be able to run to his own pace. And fighting with the medium tyre runners is not ideal. So let's see if he can manage that. But it looks like we've got groups formulating and sticking together. Someboy now 2 seconds away from this group. So it just shows you how powerful the drag reduction system is around this race circuit. JMB Surreal asking, is this going to be a one-stop? It could be a one-stop. I think some drivers, I think most will go 2. But if I think back to the evaluation race 8 weeks ago now, I'm fairly certain Beyond the Ball took a one-stop around here. But it does look a little bit hotter today. There's no cloud cover compared to last time in the evaluation race. Paul Racetech is closing that gap down, but is not quite close enough. Another little rear lockup. You can tell the drivers are running a bit more rear brake bias in Tier 1 compared to those in Tier 2 as Kent drops down a couple of spots. Here comes the Red Bull for the race lead. Down the inside for the Red Bull, and Beyond the Ball doesn't fight too hard and lets the Red Bull go. So we've got a Red Bull leading the race. The first change of position for the race lead. I was going to say this front 6 holding on together, but Owen's just hanging on by his fingernails at the minute. And Kent going even further backwards. Kent's got damage, actually. That's what's causing him to drop backwards through the field. I noticed that Kent got overtaken by Ruddo and ARL in one swift move. I'm wondering if he's had an impact with one of those guys, which has caused the end fence. You can see on the left-hand side of the front wing. That's a... Oh, JPH of a huge slide out of turn number 10 there, out of Pico de Pato. He managed to gather it all together. Back at the front. Oh, Beyond the Ball going up the inside. That was a later lunge than I expected. Ruddo's trying to fight with Nathan as well, but Beyond the Ball is going to get past the Red Bull. But here's Sydney. Hard tyres. He's going to have DRS. He's got battery available to him, so Paul Racetech's going to drop to 3rd, and Sydney moves into 2nd place. And you're just starting to think at this stage of the race now, Sydney will have those tyres fired up. The hard shod tyre driver of himself and Shortbread, who's just at the back of this group too. Those two are in a very strong position at the moment, being able to keep pace with these front runners, which is possible around here. That's how powerful the DRS is around here. You know, if this was a more conventional race circuit, maybe looking at Hungaroring, as Shortbread goes through, that's a crash! The two Red Bulls, I think, have collided. They have. Oh, a disaster for the Red Bull team. Paul Racetech got on the curb, spun around, and Stinos just didn't see him. He was battling with Shortbread and was a passenger and hit this. How that has not resulted in a terminal accident for the pair of them, I do not know, as Sydney takes the lead. Ah, but a disaster for Red Bull. And for add insult to injury, a 10-second time penalty for Stinos. Nightmare. He's going to have to serve that later on, I think, if he's going to make another pit stop. But I alluded to it just then. Sydney in the lead of the race, Bjorn de Boer, happy days in second place. Those two will not have seen what have happened, but Shortbread did. We were on board with him. We saw the Red Bull fire to the inside of the circuit, and Shortbread went around the outside of Magullo and managed to avoid the contact. So Bjorn de Boer, he's going to have to get wise now fighting against these two, because his tyres, I think his tyres will start to be feeling a little bit tired. They're not going to be slow, that wouldn't be the right word, but they are going to be tired compared to the hard shod Pirellis around him. We shall see. I don't think he can keep up with Sydney, though. I think Sydney is doing what Sydney does best and checking out when he needs to. But he'll have Shortbread for company, I'm sure. This is a critical part of the race now for Shortbread. If he wants to be a factor in this race victory, he's going to want to keep hold of DRS, and he's going to want to hope that Bjorn de Boer can go through. We had a change. Owen having a huge slide out of turn 2. But yeah, Paul Racetech it was, having a battle with some boy. Doesn't look as if the Red Bull has got any damage. I mean, he could have side pod damage from the impact that he had with his teammate. We'll wait and see on that one. We'll have to find out after the race, because I can't imagine he's going to want to talk to us mid-race. TTG Nathan still leading the group behind him. Ruddo, Ginger, ARL and Nitro all fighting for that 7th place. See Nitro car just sliding a little bit. ARL having a wiggle on the exit. And Bjorn de Boer briefly lost it. In fact, he has lost DRS, so he's going to be vulnerable to Shortbread. Let's fire our way backwards. Yep, Sydney over a second clear. So DRS wide open. We don't have it available for Bjorn, but he's using the battery as the Alpine to just close that gap down. Big lock-up from the Dutch driver in front of us. I think he's going to, if he keeps using too much battery though, he's going to compromise himself later in the race. Same for Sydney for that matter, actually. Owen running a lonely race in 4th. Some boy in Paul Racetech, absolutely not. Not lonely in the slightest. I think Nathan will be... I was just about to say, I think Nathan will be happy with how the race has played out so far, but not after running that wide at turn 4. He'll have picked up some debris for sure on his tyres. It'll take a couple of corners to scrub off. And the McLaren and Ginger right underneath the rear spoiler of Ruddo at the minute. As Kent and Stinos having a good fight for 14th position, and these two have both pitted, of course. Kent trying to go around the outside, but I don't think that one was going to work. But still, we're only on lap 8. Plenty of time in this race still to go. And I think Bjorn de Boer got DRS back then. So these three now 5 seconds clear. And Paul Racetech into the pits. So he wants to get rid of those medium tyres. And I think this is going to put him on a 2-stop strategy, realistically. He's pitted very early. And hard tyres are going on. I'd be stunned if he could make it on 29 lap hard tyres. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's unlikely. Ginger now works his way onto the back of the Scuderia's favourite son. And some boy goes past Owen. Now I wonder if Owen has made a little mistake somewhere at turn 4, because Owen was clear of some boy by about a second or two. And that is definitely not the case anymore. I'm just wondering if Owen on those medium tyres, maybe they are just starting to struggle now at this point in the race. Let's just have a quick update of the leader gap, just so you can see Paul Racetech 27 seconds behind after making that pit stop. Now, a pit stop around Interlagos is going to be roughly, it's normally on the lower side to be fair, but I'm thinking it's going to be about 21 seconds. Watch me be proven wrong as, whoa, Sydney's off the road. The race leader off the road at turn 3. Now, what happened there? Shocking. That was, just cut back. I just saw Sydney's graphic on the bottom right side of your screen just go off the road. I wonder what happened to Sydney. Did he just lose it with the curb? Because if he did, puts him on the back foot. He's only 3 seconds away. It doesn't look as if there's any damage. There's lots of pit stops going on as well. Whilst that's all ongoing, Sydney drops down the order. Ruddo pitted, Nitro pitted as well. There's a yellow flag out there in sector 2, but I can only imagine that it was for JP8, but then that wouldn't make any sense really why that was the case, but there we are. Back at the front. This is Shortbread's opportunity, because Sydney is already closing the gap back down despite going off the road. And those hard tyres are going to struggle a little bit longer as Ruddo goes past JPH for a spot back inside the top 10. DRS and battery available for the Williams, but he can't get past that Alpine. Whoa, big slide for the pair of them for that matter through turn 4. Synchronised sliding from the pair. I think Bjorn's tyres, I think Bjorn might be trying to do the same thing what he did last time in the evaluation race. I've mentioned it a few times already. But he's taken those medium tyres 10 laps right now. Shortbread's race though, and for Sydney for that matter, it's critical for those two to get past Bjorn, because now that the Dutchman's going to start to struggle a little bit on those medium tyres, they need to be making hay while the sun shines with those harder compound tyres, which can go for a lot longer. There is Sydney. You can see he's really pulled the gap right back down. Stinos goes past JPH. I think JPH just moving out the way just so he can get himself aligned with what he needs to do. I wonder if Shortbread maybe is planning a different tactic. Maybe he's doing something a little bit different to what we might typically expect him to do. As TTG Nathan pits from 6th place on the hard tyre. Now that's an interesting call from the Aston Martin. He was 10 seconds behind this group. He didn't have any... It looks like quite a slow stop for Nathan, that one. Did he have a wing change, perhaps? Just want to see what his time is. He's just coming out. I think Ruddo's going to get in front of him. And I think Nitro might also get him if he's not careful. It'll be very close between the McLaren and the Aston Martin, but I think the Aston Martin is going to emerge, and that's 20 seconds lost in the pit. So it wasn't a slow stop actually for the Aston Martin, it was just the way that we cut back to it. And he's gone for another set of mediums as Stinos picks up track warning violation number 1. He's got 3 seconds that he's going to have to deal with. Let's change that back to interval. So Nathan is going to go for a 2-stop. That's him absolutely certain now of being locked into that strategy, at least. And Sydney is into the pit. And Sydney picks up a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Now the championship leader is going to have to do something special now during the course of this race to pull out 10 seconds on Shortbread and Bjorn de Boer. Well, that has thrown a spanner in the championship leader's works. Out he comes out of the pits. Where is... I'm just looking to see where Paul Racetech is. There's a yellow flag, and I'm going to say that's JPH, who's gone round at Jung Kao. He's back moving again. I think he's had a spin. Sydney is just about going to emerge in front of Paul Racetech. And Sydney on medium tyre. So Sydney going for a 2-stop as well. Well, we've just come up to a 3rd race distance, ladies and gentlemen. And so far, there's a lot of different plot lines going on here. We've got quite a few drivers who are Yet to make a pit stop. Kent is in the wall. And he's gone off all by himself. There's a yellow flag out there. I don't think the safety car is going to come out for that. He was so far off the track, and sure enough, it has brought him back in. Oh, and Owen's had a spin too. So I suspected earlier, as Sunboy makes a pit stop, that Owen had a slide on those medium tyres. He's had a bigger one this time around, and into the pits to get rid of those tired old medium compound Pirellis. So that's changed everything up. Ginger Tiger going for the soft tyre. Now that is not something I would have expected in this race, but perhaps Ginger doing something a little bit different. Why not? Why not give it a go? The McLaren driver emerges in what looks to be 11th position, but on those soft tyres and with a little less fuel in the car now, he'll be able to race on after. I think we've got ARL not far in front of him, Stinos on 8 old lapped tyres as well, so perhaps Ginger can make an impact on the rest of this race. I imagine he'll go soft and then hard tyres for the end. Bruce is out there. He's got Owen now with him. JPH also out there too. He's got Shortbread gaining, who has got the lead of the race and goes into the pits. And as does Bjorn de Boer. So the two at the front responding to Sydney's current, well, it's going to be fastest lap of the race, I reckon, from Sydney, because he's set 2 purple sectors so far. Here he comes towards the start-finish line. It's a 110.1, so he's gone quicker, and I think he's going to be comfortably ahead of the pair he is. Shortbread goes for a set of medium tyres. Bjorn de Boer goes for a hard set of Pirelli tyres, but Sydney leads the way. Paul Racetech has moved himself back up to 3rd. He's just behind Shortbread, but the problem for Paul is that Shortbread in front of him, he's going to have fresher tyres and faster tyres at this point in the race. 0 lap-old mediums versus 6 lap-old hards. It's not going to work. He's going to try. Shortbread's still got to get those tyres fired up. We'll see whether or not he can get out of DRS. I think he will. He's almost there already. And there it goes. That's the time difference that you gain from fresh Pirellis. Good evening to Gel, who's watching from Canary Islands. I hope you're having a fabulous time with the lovely weather over there. Gel going along with me about the one stop, which I think will be the right strategy call personally. But again, it's whether you can make those tyres last. You know, right now it does look to me that the only one who's committed to that one-stop strategy is Bjorn de Boer. I think, like Gel says, those tyres will go to the end of the race. I think the hards can do 20 laps, but he's going to have to nurse them in these opening few laps. Doesn't want to put too much wear on them at the moment, and he also doesn't want to get into any action with Paul Racetech in front of him. 6 lap tyre difference as I go up another octave as Paul Racetech almost loses the back end. There's a fight going on between Nathan and Sunboy. Nathan's moved himself up really well, actually. His strategy so far has moved him up the grid. It's very close with this fight for 8th place. Stinos, ARL and Nitrogash, and Ginger Tiger is also involved as well. So there's a fight for a spot inside the top 8 here. But Stinos is going to need another pit stop, and you could argue for Stinos that if he pitted in a couple of laps' time, he could probably... Oh, he's struggling so much with those hard tyre Pirellis. Bjorn de Boer is going to go through on Paul Racetech. That's an important move as Nathan gets overtaken by Sunboy. DRS available for the Racing Bull. You'd think ARL would make it past Stinos quite easily, and there he goes. No team orders at McLaren just yet between the soft shod Ginger and the hard shod Nitro. Blistering pace being set here at the moment. So at the front, it's Sydney who leads the way. He's just under 4 seconds clear of Shortbread, but Shortbread's safe in the knowledge that he doesn't have a time penalty. and that even with Sydney making another pit stop, he's going to lose 10 seconds. So if Shortbread can just keep him within touching distance, he will move in front of the Haas driver who leads the race right now. But it's Beyond the Ball, the one they both have to watch out for. Just looking at the time gap, Beyond the Ball is 8 seconds behind Sydney. He's 3.5 behind Shortbread, which right now isn't quite enough for those two on the medium tyres. So they need to start pumping some lap times in. Speaking of lap times, let's just have a quick look at the situation for the fastest lap. Yeah, you can see the difference. 1:10.1 from Sydney, or 1:10.4 from Shortbread. TTG Nathan actually has the fastest lap of anybody, a 1:10 flat. So good speed shown from the Aston Martin driver. Everyone's made one stop as well, just for the record. That's the penalty situation, as Stenos and Nitrogash are fighting over 9th place. Of course, the ones... Oh, Nitro, I thought was going to try and move up the inside. Wow, that would have been especially brave. But those with time penalties over 10 seconds, that's because they've sped in the pit lane. For those that are just tuning in, there's quite a few of you who have. Kent is saying that his retirement has come down to an install situation, so it's uninstalled on the game. Well, I'm glad it's done it in that place, Kent, because that could have been a huge accident. The Wolf asking, can we see the pit stops? Well, everybody has stopped once, just so you're aware. That is where we are in terms of the tyre strategy at the moment. Nitro just can't get close enough to Stenos at the minute. And is that Ginger being overtaken? Oh dear, that was a little bit... We cut to that too late to make any judgment on what happened, but we all know the result of Owen being on the grass. Not quite certain what's happened with that, but we will move away from it. Only because I couldn't tell you what happened. It'd be unfair. Everyone so far has made the one stop at the minute. And the gaps are just as Owen picks up a time penalty. But the closest fights really at the moment are the group that we've been watching with Stenos and Nitro. And Nathan and Sunboy. I've got to say, Nathan having a really good run so far tonight. I don't want to jinx him, because I know commentators' curse, of course, is an issue. DRS available for Nathan, but he's not quite close enough. And a little bit of a hesitation through the corner as Owen goes past. Oh, Nitro to the outside of Stenos. I don't think Nitro's going to be too pleased about the way that Stenos defended there, but he's gone through anyway. He's overtaken the Red Bull, but the Red Bull's coming back at him. Nitro does have DRS, but the Red Bull moves back in front. I think Nitro's going to be a little bit annoyed with that. But the McLaren right underneath the rear wing of the Red Bull in front of us. Now, Ginger Tiger has pitted. He's going to go to the end now on those hard tyres. No disputing that. But it'll be fascinating to see. He will emerge, I think, because of the power of the undercut. He'll emerge in front of both Stenos and Nitro. Maybe even ARL. Don't rule out the McLaren and Ginger Tiger for a spot in the top 8 here. Certainly doable. And Nathan, he hasn't been around for a few races, to be fair to Nathan, but he's having definitely his best showing of the season as Owen moves past Nitrogash now. So Owen, whose tyres are a lot fresher than anybody who is in this fight, making good use of them. He's going to have DRS, but that Red Bull just seems to have good traction. So Owen's going to have to go the long way around. The Red Bull moves to the inside at turn 4. Stenos defending heavily and shuts the door on the second of the Scuderia drivers in this race. But Owen's going to try and go around the outside at Ferradura. He's going to lose the back end. He's on the grass. Nitro moves back past him. I have to say that's really good car control from Owen, because that could have been a huge crash into the wall. Trust me, going around Ferradura at 150 miles an hour and holding a slide, that's good going from the Ferrari driver. Lap 22 for Sydney, who still has the same gap roughly to Shortbread, but Bjorn de Boer is holding them quite nicely at the moment. Paul Racetech is in 4th position. He still needs to make another pit stop. Here we go again. In the battle for 9th place, Nitro's got his DRS wide open, but Owen has a huge straight line speed advantage. Nitro goes through on the inside. Owen trying to squeeze a Ferrari up the inside of a Red Bull can-shaped hole. It wasn't probably going to work. All of them on the battery at the moment. Nitro is not going to have any DRS to defend. He's going to have to go to the inside line, and he goes through around the outside of Nitro. So Stenos probably has got himself in a position where he knows where to defend and saving battery up the hill, so Nitro can't get back past. Bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, this is a fight for 9th position. These guys are going at it hammer and tongs, but they're losing time to Ginger Tiger. He's going to be in front of them by the time they make a pit stop, and if they keep fighting more, he's going to have a big buffer come the end of this race. You'd expect Stenos is going to pit for medium tyres, as into the pits comes his Red Bull. And the other Red Bull's got a 10-second time penalty. 5 people we've had get a pit lane violation. Ooh, Stenos flirting with the pit lane regulation rules there by doing that. But his teammates just come on. He's got a new set of hards on. He's going to go to the end. And I think what Stenos is going to try and do is... Sydney has picked up another penalty. And that's going to be critical for later on in the race now. If he does have the fresher tyres at the end to go after Bjorn de Boer for potentially a race win, Bjorn knows if he keeps it clean, he's going to have a good chance as Nitro now joins the group. Shocking really. The amount of... We had this in the evaluation race where a lot of drivers were picking up pit lane speed violations, and I think it's because you enter the pit lane so quickly compared to other racetracks, and Sydney is in, so the race leader has decided now's the time to pit as we follow Owen. Have a look at his gap when he comes out of the pits. Well, Owen, Nitro and Paul Racetech now is going to join this group in a moment. Sunboy is also in, he's going to have DRS available to him. Is Stenos going to carry on? He's going to carry on for another lap. There we go. The Ferrari goes through. Nitro's in the pits. There's a bunch of other drivers. Sydney goes to the medium tyres, so he's going to be on those till the end of the race, and he served his time penalty, but he's going to come out behind the Red Bull duo. So Paul Racetech is going to move out of the way. And he's going to move out of the way of Sydney as well, actually. I wasn't expecting him to do that. Those 18 lap old hard tyres now are really starting to struggle. But Sydney's going to have to try and work his way through the field because he's got Owen and ARL who are up the road from him. But they're going to be on their own strategy. And he's going to be losing time to Shortbread and Bjorn de Boer. Shortbread carries on. Bjorn de Boer naturally carries on. Ruddo running up in 3rd place at the moment. It's a great drive from the Ferrari man. He will... Well, another driver picks up a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Sydney moves past Paul Racetech then into 5th position. And he's going to be using those medium tyres to good effect now. He's closing that gap down to Shortbread. That's currently 25.6 seconds, but realistically he needs to find another 5 seconds to overhaul the Williams driver. There's some boy Stenos still holding on those tyres. TTG Nathan goes around the outside, and unless Stenos is trying to... I don't think he's going to try and make it to the end on those tyres, but even if he does, I think realistically it's not going to happen. Race leader in the pits. Shortbread moves into the pit lane. He's 22 seconds in front of Sydney. So this gap's going to be a lot tighter. Sydney's been held up a little bit, though, by the Ferrari of Owen. So it's worked in his favour. DRS wide open for the championship leader. He's going to breeze past the Ferrari. There's not going to be any issue there. New fastest lap of the race for Sydney, but he's going to come out some way behind Shortbread. There is the Williams leaving the pit lane now. If we look in the background, there's Sydney. That gap is 4 seconds. You can see how powerful the undercut was. 2 laps difference has saved Sydney 4 seconds. That's astonishing, the amount of time that has been gained via the undercut. Wow. As more drivers start picking up the time penalties and racking them up for track limit violations. I've had 5 drivers this evening, well, 6 drivers this evening. They've they've unfortunately had to serve their 10-second drive through 10-second time penalty in the pit lane. They've had to serve that. Stenos has finally pitted for a new set of mediums. He'll go to the end now. So everybody, in terms of pit stops, bar Owen and Bjorn de Boer, are going to go to the end. JPH is out there, but I think he will probably make a pit stop considering where he is right now. But I'm looking at the tyre situation. I'm thinking for Owen and Bjorn, they probably could squeeze through to the end. But you can see Shortbread is absolutely flying at the moment. That gap down to 15 seconds. But he's going to have to make that rate up every single lap. He's going to have to try and gain, by my rough calculations, I reckon he's going to need to make up about 1.5 seconds per lap as Paul Race Tech goes through. And I've seen Owen on the grass more times than I've seen a lawnmower in it tonight. But there we are. Ferrari down into 5th position. Some boy is going to be the next driver aiming for that Ferrari. I think Owen's strategy is to try and do... He's not quite had the speed of Bjorn de Boer to pull this off tonight. I think he's just trying to hang on, but you can see those hard tyres are starting to run past their sell-by date, shall we say. Oh, and another big slide out of junk car for Owen. He's really struggling. New fastest lap from Shortbread. That gap down to 12.6 seconds. He's looking for his first win in the championship. His first win, official Formula 1 win in Invictus Racing League as well. You know, Shortbread won the Formula 2 mini league that we did earlier on in the year. But he's looking for his first race victory. He's going to have to keep pulling that time down. Some boy's gone past Owen now for 5th place as Owen reintroduces Fast and Furious Brazilian drift to the streets of Interlagos. And Nathan now wants to go past him as well. It's important for Nathan to get through because he's got to try and get past somebody. He's going to try for a move at the inside that wasn't really on, if I'm being honest. Stenos, new fastest lap. What could have been for the Red Bull driver. But Nathan all over. Oh, he's tried to do a sneaky switchback, but it just... There's not enough room. It's always challenging, but he's lost so much time to Sunboy. Nathan's probably just going to have to be patient and do it down the straight. Oh, look at that. Owen just fighting to keep the car on the tarmac. DRS wide open, and Owen doesn't even fight it. He moves on through. So Owen's one-stop strategy is dropping him down the order. And his teammate will be the next driver coming after. And the other thing for Owen as well, he's got penalties to deal with. That's not ideal for him. Let's have a look at that. That is 3 seconds. ARL has 10. We're looking at the 2 McLaren boys in the top 10 as it stands. Shortbread got that gap to 10 seconds now. And the thing with the tyre situation is because Bjorn de Boer's tyres are so much older than Shortbread's, even when let's say the laps get to lap 35, Shortbread's tyres are still going to be better than Bjorn de Boer's, even though that their wear rate will not be far away from the Alpines. But Bjorn, if I'm just going to have a little look, yeah, he's doing what I think he's doing. I'm not going to say it out loud, but all I will say to everybody who's watching is just keep an eye on the gap when the dots on your tracker go down the main straights. That's what I'm going to say. Sydney running in third position, and I think that's probably going to be Sydney's lot in this race. Oh, Sydney seems to have just lost a lot of speed in this stint on the second set of time. I'm not sure why that's the case, but he was catching the other guys at a rate of knots, but it just hasn't occurred for him in this stint for some reason. Maybe Sydney recognises the situation and it's just a case of let's bring it home. I'm under no pressure from the cars behind, and right now he isn't. Someboy is not too far away. Someboy doesn't have any penalties, so Sydney's got a 3-second gap to play with compared to Someboy, and Nathan's in the same situation. Owen's gone past. Sorry, Owen's still in front of Ruddo, I should say. So Ruddo looking like he's going to get a spot inside the top 7, maybe 6th is an option. It could be. I mean, it could be an option because Paul Race Tech's penalties bring them up to 10 seconds. So you just never know. And that's Someboy and Nathan fighting over. Oh, Someboy's just lost the back end. He's held it. Oh, and he's lost it again. And I was saying before that he had a 3-second gap to Sydney. He doesn't anymore. That's gone now, sadly. And Someboy slips down the order. And Nathan will be rubbing his palms together. He's got 3 seconds to play with. Nathan could be on for a 4th place finish here. Owen there in 7th still at the moment. Ruddo not yet caught him. Gap at the front down to 8.7, but that gap is not closing at the same rate it was. I forget, a few laps ago it was 16 seconds. So Shortbread has pulled a lot of time out of the Dutchman in the race lead, but it's not quite enough yet. And Bjorn de Boer is having a very good time with his deployment situation. He's very tactical with this. That's why he's still keeping just enough of a buffer to the Williams behind. 5 laps to go, including the one that we're on. It's all to play for here in Brazil. Cheeky Chaz has said, come on Shortbread, I've put my entire house on you. I think for Cheeky Chaz, the difference between homelessness and having a second property will all come down to ERS management, I think. That's going to be a key player in this one. Sydney still running in 3rd place. I'm just looking at the time gaps. The next closest fight is between Owen and Ruddo. The car that you can see that's ghosted is JPH. He's a lap down and Owen just moves out of the way. So Ruddo moves into 7th place. He's right on the fringe of getting another spot from Paul Racetech and finishing inside the top 6. It's very close. Ginger Tiger and Nitro, they are on course to both finish inside the top 10. They just need to keep it up. Having a good solid drive, these two, in the McLarens. It's not been the easiest season for them. They both know that. They both have spoken about that. Looking forward to having some good fights with them in Tier 2 later on in the season. They'll be competing across Tier 1 for the remainder of the season, but also they'll be dropping into Tier 2. It will be nice to see these guys having some fights in and around. Cheeky Chaz saying, I'll give the commentator the second house if he gets a podium. Depends what type of house it is. The gaps have just, between the field, outside the top 3, the gaps have stabilised a little bit. Sydney is still catching Bjorn de Boer, but his penalties kind of taking him out of it. I think what Shortbread and Sydney would have benefited from is if Sydney didn't get that drive through, rather the 10-second stop-go penalty, what they would have benefited from is DRS from one another, and that's a McLaren round, and I think Ginger Tiger's dropped it. Looks like he has. Is there any damage on that McLaren? It's too late for a safety car now. And there is. Oh, no. Oh, it was going so well for Ginger. He was in the top 10. He was comfortably on for 9th, maybe even 8th place. But front wing damage, probably going to limit him to 11th. I don't think he's going to... Is he going to pit? Yes, he's not sure, but he does pit in the end. I wonder if he'll go for fastest lap. He could do. Oh, Ginger picks up the 10-second time penalty now. I don't think Bjorn is going to lose this race lead. I think Shortbread, as hard as he's tried, just has run out of laps. The gap is 6.6 seconds. Yeah, Ginger gone for the soft tyres. What I was saying before is that Shortbread and Sydney, if Sydney didn't have that stop-go penalty, they'd have benefited from each other having DRS and just slipstreaming one another, and Bjorn de Boer's ERS management wouldn't have been as effective as it is, and that's why he stayed so far in front. He's really conserved energy in the Alpine. It's a fabulous drive, but he's still got this lap and the next to complete before he's home, and the Dutchman is going to make it 2 wins in a row for Alpine, because Milo de Boer, of course, took the first race victory. Just trying to have a little squeeze through here in terms of, if my brain is correct. Just thinking back to Imola. Yeah, Bjorn de Boer won the sprint race in Imola. So he's going to be on his way to the second feature race, which is Paul Race Tech picks up more penalties. TTG Nathan's going to be on for a... He's going to be on for a 4th place here, as Sunboy's going to move up a spot, and Ruddo will too. So, in fact, if Race Tech isn't careful, he could lose more spaces. But what could have been for the 2 Red Bulls tonight? I think that's going to be the key message here, is that were it not for their accident, and it was no one's fault realistically, Stinos got on the curb, he spun, and Paul was a innocent victim in that. Or rather the wrong way round. Paul Racetech lost it and then Stinos hit the back of him. Owen has retired from the race, which is an interesting one. But we're going to cut forward because Bjorn de Boer has pulled off his strategy again. He's the only driver who's managed to make those tyres work. They've gone the distance. And the blue and pink Alpine, the Dutchman, is going to make it 2 wins for Alpine in a row. The Boer brothers are having a great time in Tier 1 this season. The number 95 exits Jung Kao for the 36th and final time. He approaches the DRS point. He doesn't need to flick that open. He's got a race win. It's Bjorn de Boer who takes his first main race victory of the season. Shortbread is going to come home for his first podium of the championship. Well raced from the Williams driver. Sydney should end up with 3rd place depending on the penalty situation. He crosses the line and he is going to finish in 3rd position. It'll be TTG Nathan in 4th. It won't be. It'll be Sunboy who snatches it thanks to penalties for TTG Nathan. So the Mercedes ends up 4th. Nathan's 5th. Ruddo 6th. You can see how much time Paul Racetech lost there in 7th. It will be Nitrogash in 8th place, I think. Yes, it will. The McLaren moves up a spot. That's his best result of the season. Well done, Nitro. ARL will be 9th. Stinos and Ginger Tiger are having a fight right at the end. I'm just looking at the battery situation. Bruce and Jordan have finished. So it's down to this. And I know that Ginger will want to go past him if he can. Even if he's got 10 seconds worth of penalties. But he's not quite close enough. Stinos dumping all of his battery down the main straight, so it's 10th for the Red Bull. Well, that was a really good race. That is fabulous to watch. Lots to talk about, I'm sure, in the post-race discussion. Owen, I know, is not feeling too pleased about certain situations, but we'll cover that another time as Bjorn de Boer matches his brother for 1 race victory each this season in the main races. obviously Bjorn's got the added bonus of having a sprint win in Imola as well. Celebrations going on there in front of all the fans in Interlagos. Bjorn de Boer is your race winner. It's Stinos with the fastest lap of the race. Driver of the day going to Nathan, and I'd agree with that actually, to be fair. And Ginger Tiger having the most overtakes of everyone. So let's run through your provisional race results. It's Bjorn de Boer with the race victory. Shortbread and Sydney rounding off your podium. Sunboy, thanks to penalties, does well in the end. He takes 4th place. Could have even been 3rd had it not been for that incident earlier. Nathan and Ruddo were in 5th and 6th, with Paul Racetech in 7th. Well done to Nitro getting his best result of the season in 8th. ARL and Stinos rounding out the top 10, with Ginger Tiger and IRC Bruce rounding out the point scorers. Well done to Bruce on getting the last point there as a reserve driver. JPH, the last classified runner on track. Owen will also be classified despite being 3 laps down, and Kent having that massive issue in the end in 15th position. Whew! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, take a deep breath. You've just watched 36 laps of fantastic racing action. Someone, for some unknown reason, has decided to ready up and we're racing again, but ignore that. That won't be happening. Owen saying that he had punctures, that's why. He retired from the race effectively. In the end, he had 2 punctures, sadly. That's why he was struggling so much. And that is that for tonight's action. We're not done for this week or for the season, of course. We've still got a long, long way to go for the rest of the championship. But for the Tier 1 drivers, they've got a break next week. They won't be racing, nor will Tier 2. IRL will be having a breather, but we'll be back on the 25th of August. For Tier 1, the drivers will be going around Melbourne, Australia, and it'll be the 2nd sprint event of the season. So do tune in for that one. Keep an eye on our social media, not just Instagram and Twitter and all that, our YouTube shorts as well. We'll always like to cover some of the action. Tomorrow, the Tier 2 drivers will be racing around Interlagos. We'll see if anyone can mimic any of the results that happened this evening, whether anyone can make a one-stop strategy work, who knows. Well done to everybody who watched up. Thank you for joining us, for everyone who did watch as well. There's been quite a good few of you tonight, and if you are watching and if you enjoyed the stream, do like the stream. It helps promote a little bit more visibility for Invictus Racing League, and subscribe, of course. Like I was saying, the Tier 2 drivers are in action tomorrow around Interlagos. It'll be Jordan and ARL commentating on that event. That'll be live from 8 o'clock British Standard Time. And as always in Tier 2, there'll be a lot of action going on. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. Just looking at the comments that we've got towards the end of what we've just been talking about. Nice win for Bjorn from J&B Surreal, and lucky to Shortbread. Thanks for the comms. Always nice to hear from you guys saying that. Thank you, everybody. Jordan, well done for surviving, considering you'd only got on the game 20 minutes before. I know, I was talking to you and helping you out. But in any case, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow for Tier 2 action, but in the meantime, wherever it might be in the big wide world, have a good one. And we'll see you tomorrow for Tier 2 here at Interlagos.